tomorrow in your homeroom Bible studies, we're going to be taking a look at the fourth commandment. We're going to look at what God has to tell us in the first of some very important messages to us about relationships with one another. Let's open up our hymnals to hymn 506, where we will sing hymn 506, "Oh, bless the house, whate'er befall." To interpret whate'er befall means. Well, bless the house that is designed by God. And within it, we can be encouraged by its word. We sing verses 1, 2, and 5 of hymn 506. Pastor, I'm sorry. Let's begin. We have all kinds of different people who are authoritative figures in our lives. And they all have different roles, don't they? Now, what I want you to understand is that, again, this has all been established by God. So who do these people represent in our lives? They're God's representatives. Meaning that if God were standing next to us in all of the different decisions that we make, God would say, do this, don't do that, in everything that we need to do. When we look at the 10 Commandments, the first 3 that you've studied, we call the first table of the law. And in the first table of the law, we deal with our relationships with God. You can remember what those 3 are. Commandments 4 through 10 consider the second table of the law, in which we deal with our relationships with one another. Mr. Gum had an excellent devotion for us on Tuesday, in which we talked about relationships. And so as we apply those relationships to what God has told us in this commandment, rather than view it as a command, let's view it for what it really is that God puts people of authority in our lives because He loves us. Yep. Every earthly relationship that you have is going to have problems. You're at this age right now where, especially for seniors, you're starting to figure out that you're ready to become independent. Your parents are counting on you. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And as you well know, you have relationships of authority here at school, and you have relationships of authority out as a citizen. And they don't all have to have problems, but sometimes we only focus on those. The fourth commandment doesn't start by saying, deal with your problems. It gives you a clue of what God had in mind by giving this commandment. It says, honor your father and mother, that it may go well with you, and that you may enjoy life on earth. That sounds like a pretty good deal. Who here doesn't want to enjoy life on earth and want things to go well with them? This does not mean that you are going to become a wealthy person living in a mansion. This means that within the relationships that you have in your life, they will be wonderful. How Jesus did. I often found it unfortunate that God doesn't tell us a whole lot about how he acted when he was your age. The only glimpse we get of him is at age 12, birth to age 12, and then at verse 30, when he's 33 years old. 30 years, right? What was it like in that household? I don't think it was scary for Jesus, but I think it was pretty scary for Mary and Joseph. Having a perfect kid. One that listened to everything that they did. One that was a joy. One that went well for them. One that made eating dinner an enjoyable experience and going to school something that was a blessing. Teaching carpentry without argument. All of those things happened in this household. And I suppose God doesn't tell us it because we know that we probably wouldn't match up really well. Yet God still desires for us to have a home in which Christ is the center. And thus he gave us this commandment. Because if we don't have Christ as the center, don't expect anything to really go well or to be a blessing to you. Martin Luther penned this explanation. What does this mean? We should fear and love God, that we do not dishonor our parents and others in authority, but honor, serve, and obey them and give them love and respect. It's interesting here because Martin Luther pulls out a negative, doesn't he? He pulls out a knowledge of his relationship with his parents, and he had a difficult one with his own father. And he realized that our sinful nature doesn't want to honor our parents or others in authority. We're stubborn individuals. Well, when we do, which is encouraged in this commandment, we are blessed to have a relationship where we honor, serve, and obey, and give love and respect. Authority is put in our life for purpose. Authority enforces rules and expectations. And as much as you want to not want to like your parents, and believe me, there are times they don't like you, they love you. And you love them. So we either follow authority or we don't. I don't need to listen to you. You're not my dad. Heard that before. Always find that to be an interesting conversation. How does it go? Yeah, you do need to listen to me. Yeah, you do need to listen to your parents. And as we very well know, when we study this commandment, there is really only one circumstance in which we don't. If they tell us to sin. If if they are leading us into sin. Say, no, I will do what God wants me to do with my life, as we learn from the story of Joseph as well. Authority is authority. We've got to understand that. I don't like to drive 25 miles an hour. And the authority that has been established in this world has told me that 3 times. And my wife has thrown a shoe at me every time. As I come home with a speeding ticket that said, you weren't driving, you speed limit. Didn't learn my lesson in the first place. We have authorities all around us. I have authority over me. You as students have an authority that is called a teacher. Teachers have authorities that is called a principal. And we need to honor them. We need to understand that. Those who play sports, you're a part of a team. You have a team captain. Your team has a coach. And if those things don't work, your team will not function. As children, you know you have parents. And you all have many different varieties of parents and family dynamics. It's a part of living in this world. Yet God has established them for you. I mentioned my relationship with the police, but I now know I need to try really hard to drive 25 miles an hour when the sign says so. Believe it or not, I brought this up before. Turning 18 does not remove you from being under the authority that God has established for you. It's not a magical time in your life and all of a sudden you've got it all figured out. You don't. I'm over 50. I still need my dad. And my dad is still an influence for me. But I'm independent, I have my own life, and He's raised me to be that way. God's Word tells us a few things, doesn't it? Read the first passage together. Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father. Second passage. Remember your leaders who spoke the word of God to you. Obey your leaders and submit to their authority. They keep watch over you as men who must give an account. Meaning, God's holding them in a high position and holding them accountable to be a good authority in your life, especially those who share the word of God. Next passage. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every authority He instituted among men, whether to the king as the supreme authority or the governor. What does this say about my driving habits? I need to drive 25 in order to avoid speeding tickets. I need to pay my taxes. I need to follow the rules of the society in which I live in, where laws have been established by God's representatives. I don't always like some of them. We know that God says that we have a relationship with Him to love Him in the first 3 commandments. And so I am assuming that I can assume that the majority of the people in this room love God. When we say that we love God, the love of God is going to dominate what is in my head and in my heart. I don't know if you have homes like this. I have one. I have a sister-in-law, stepsister-in-law, who doesn't come to Thanksgiving and Christmas. It's not easy. And maybe you have a brother or a sister or a grandmother or even a parent that you're not going to get together. But I want you to ask this question of yourselves. Do you want to be the person that doesn't go home for Thanksgiving and Christmas because your relationship is broken down in such a way? Strange relationships are very difficult and they are hard to deal with and to live through. And they are part of the human experience, but it doesn't have to be that way. You see, loving God and being in a loving relationship is hard work. And because we love God, we work to love one another within the relationships that God has given to us. And it does take work. Such relationships create blessed homes and blessed lives. I saw this picture in this passage, and maybe it's a stretch, but when Jesus was here on earth, it says that he often went to pray. It doesn't tell us entirely what he went to pray about. But I'd like to think that Jesus is still thinking about your relationships with your parents and others in the world, and praying to help you through them by the influences that come into your life. Think about how Jesus cares about you. He made this the first of the commandments that says, in order for you to really deal well with your relationships on earth, honor your mom and dad. It's the first commandment where he gives, in Illinois, he gives a promise. He promises that it will go well with you and that you may enjoy your life on this earth, however long it may be. God wants you to have a wonderful life to learn. Learn from the positive influences in your life. Do what faithful Christians do as you watch them and you see how their lives are enjoyed. Because the blessings of those types of experiences and influences are extraordinary, because Jesus is the foundation of all of them. I am blessed beyond compare. My parents' names were Owen and Ruth. I was not always a good boy. I was the oldest of 4 Dorn boys, and we were known as the Dorn boys. Growing up in Muskego, Wisconsin, we did things that were respected and maybe things that were not. Nonetheless, my mom and dad were extraordinary influences in our lives. I don't remember a time where we didn't go to church. We weren't influenced by them in a spiritual way. Sadly, my mom died in 1986 at the age of 43, a month after becoming a grandmother. I guess we experienced this as a family by saying God had done, or my mom had done everything that was necessary. And God's influence on us through my mom is still alive today. When I was in college, I complained about the rules. My mom was visiting me one day. She lived in Wisconsin and I was in Minnesota, and I was complaining. And this thing that she told me, this quote, sticks with me all the time. She said, Jeff, you need to understand that you're preparing to be different as a believer in Jesus. My parents loved me. They still do. Even though my mom's dad has been long gone, this last December and this last February, what would have been my mom's grandchildren were born. My granddaughter, they would be her great-grandchildren, her great-great-grandchildren. First one was named Isabel Ruth Dorn. And the second one was named Leah Ruth Peck. The grandchildren she never met. Her influence has lasted to the next generation. It all comes down to Jesus. It all comes down to your relationship with Him. God has loved you so much that He has placed other people in your lives with the responsibility of taking care of you and watching over you. He wants it to go well. He wants you in heaven. So work on your relationships and realize the blessings they are. Let us pray. Dear Lord, you know us so well. We not only need you, we need the relationships that we have here on earth. These relationships are gifts from you, and you always lovingly design what is best for us. Forgive us for the times we have caused our parents and others in authority to worry, to be sad, to be angry with us. Move our hearts to allow you to rule our hearts and have a dominant place in all of our relationships. We thank you for the many blessings you give us through our families and through those whom you have placed over us. Your love continues to amaze us. Bless all of us today with an extra measure of that love in all of our earthly relationships. In Jesus' name, amen. As children of God, be instruments of peace for Christ's sake in your homes and in all of your relationships today. A man of great authority has an announcement.
I want to try to make this quick because I know Mr. Clanky loves his third set. The 4 people that I asked to come down here really quick, come on down while I make another announcement. Tomorrow night and Saturday, we have a great opportunity to be in this gym to cheer on our Lady Pacers as they start their march to state. Tomorrow night, the Friday night at 7 o'clock, we play Whitewater. We'll be back here again on Saturday night, 7 o'clock. It does cost you $5 to get in. No, I'm a Shoreland student, I'm getting it for free. That doesn't matter. Go get $5 from your parents and come to the game, okay? It's worth that much. Another thing that's happening tomorrow is we have our spring sports meetings. It's going to be right after chapel in homeroom time. So I want these people right here to tell you why you should come to that sports meeting for their specific sport. Really quickly. State your sport.
Okay, so I play softball. And you guys should all come to, or girls should all come to the softball meeting because, I don't know, we just have a lot of fun. Our coaches are really great. They really know a lot about the game. We're all really close. Like, the whole team is really close. And we go to the Dells, so.
Okay, so I play soccer, and we have really great coaches who are encouraging us and pushing us to do our best. And all of the girls are really close. We have a family-like bond, and our team meals are really good.
You should do track because it's boys and girls. We have cool practices, there's no drama, and you get to grow mentally, spiritually, and physically. And for the throwers, yoga on Wednesdays.
So I'm here to represent baseball, and we're a group of brothers that love each other and love the game, and we just like to have fun. We're going to win conference this year, so that's going to be nice. And fellas, ladies love a baseball player.
Also, we're officially supposed to be here for golf, but he's taking a test. You come out and just grip it and rip it all spring long. It's fun, right? All right, you guys, we out of here.